Hello and welcome to episode 176 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 5th of August. So welcome everybody. I hope you all had a lovely week since the last time I've spoken to you, and I'm here to share all the things that I've been making in the last 7 days. So today I have some knitting, some crochet, some spinning, some sewing, a gadget, a question from the Ask Me Anything thread, and some confessions. Haven't had any in a little while because we've been buying lots of baby things, but I do have some crafty confessions to show you. And lastly, I've just got some information on my shop update. So if you want to skip along to any of the sections, the progress bar is divided into sections down below the video. So we have a couple of Makalongs in the Ravelry group and on Instagram, and I'll leave information for those in the description bar down below. So let's get on with the knitting, shall we? So I have a finished object to show you, and I have a finished Litmus cowl. Isn't it gorgeous? Absolutely love it. So this was knitted by Adam's mum. So I chose the yarns and the pattern, and she's knitted it up for me. And I've just done the finishing touches, like securing the ends at the back, and also I've kitchened the ends together to make a tube. It's a very easy pattern to knit. You're basically just knitting stripes, and once you've knitted your tube you join the two ends together. So you have to start off with a provisional cast on, which is easy enough then to undo, hold the stitches on another needle and kitchen them together. It did take me longer than I thought to kitchen those stitches together. It must have taken me 3 hours, I think, while I was watching the telly. So it took me a full evening to do that, but very well worth it because I just love how it is in the loop. I love how this wears actually. I haven't tried it on since I've blocked it, but I did try it on before it was blocked. And it is so cosy, being enough to go around your neck twice, and I just love these stripes. So this is a pattern called the Litmus cowl, and it's by Amy from the Stranded Dye Works podcast, and I'll leave a link to the pattern in the description bar down below, as well as the yarns, etc. And I used a mini set that I picked up from Fibre from the Knitting Goddess, and there was 12 10-gram minis in there, which is brilliant because there's 24 of the coloured stripes, which means that there's 2 rounds of the colour, if that makes sense. But it's so cosy. It's a bit warm today, so I can't leave it on for too long. But basically you can see that it stripes through the colours twice, and because they're sort of a continuous colour gradient, it's brilliant because it flows through all the way round the cowl. And you can see there, if I fold it, where it's, you can see that it's sort of mirrored on the opposite side, just about. I absolutely love this. I'm very tempted to have a few of these because they're so warm, being sort of 4 thicknesses of 4-ply around your neck in the winter. It's just really nice and cosy. So I'm tempted to knit a few of these. So you can use your sort of advent calendars for this sort of thing. Each of the stripes takes 5 grams, and I had 10 grams of each of the 12 colours, so I used 24 5 grams. Which is brilliant. And then as the contrast, I used a 100-gram skein of the John Arbon Knit by Numbers in the 05 colourway, which is like a nice grey. But absolutely love these muted colours. Really enjoying those colours. I think the pink section's probably my favourite. They're absolutely gorgeous. Really love it. So like I said, it takes 120 grams of the minis and 100 grams of the full solid colour as a contrast there, and I just think that is a lovely thing to make. There were some tiny scraps left over because I wanted the stripes to be an equal depth, so they're all 10 rows each to make sure that there was enough yarn, but definitely one of my favourite patterns, I think, because it's so cosy around the neck. A little bit warm for this time of the year, but I'll be definitely wearing this a lot in the winter months, and I really like how it lies around the neck all nice and cosy. So that is my finished object, which I cheated because Adam's mum knitted it for me. but I have a couple of works in progress that I've been working on. So I haven't done a lot on my sparkle cardigan, but I just thought I'd talk you through what I'm up to with it. So last time I'd been knitting on the first sleeve, and I've knitted a couple of inches of the first sleeve, but I then just wanted to try it on to see what it looked like. But I used one of my Clover circular stitch holders just to hold the stitches there so that I could try it on, because I was working on a 12-inch circular needle and it's too skinny for my arm to go in, so I had to put it on the stitch holders just to see if it fit, and actually that fits really nice. But then I thought what I'm going to do is switch to the second sleeve, and I have started on the second sleeve there, and I'm using magic loop at the moment to knit the first bit because it is quite a wide opening. Once the circle is decreased a little bit, I'll then switch it to the 12-inch circular needles. But I just wanted to see what the sleeves looked like short, because I might leave them short, we shall see. It is a bit misleading at the moment because the inside front is curling up a bit, so you can't quite see how wide it is, but at least if I pull it open you can see that it's a little bit wider. It goes into a V-neck, and then I've knitted it a cropped length at the bottom so that it goes just past my waistline. But this is the Sparkle Cardigan by Locatelli, and it's got some beautiful lace all over it, and I'm knitting this one in my own colourway, Pretty and Pink, on my merino nylon 4-ply base. So I shall keep you updated with that. I'm hoping to get the sleeve done, and then I can decide whether I want them to be sort of shorter sleeves or whether to do them sort of to the elbow or 3/4 length. My intention initially was to do them 3/4 length, but as it's a cropped cardigan, I don't know whether I prefer them to be slightly shorter sleeves. I'll knit them both to about that length and see what they look like. Obviously I've got to do some rib on there as well. I have got a progress keeper just marking my repeats, because on the body and on the sleeves you've got two different lace repeats, so I've just put a marker in there to tell me which is number 1, and then on the first sleeve I've put some bulb pins just to mark where my decreases are, because I have changed them slightly from the pattern, because when I picked up stitches from the body on the sleeve I was sort of one size bigger than I wanted my arm to fit, so I've then decreased to the size below, and then I'm carrying on with the decreases in pattern for the size that I want to knit for my arm, if that makes sense. I am actually still on 2 skeins of yarn at the moment, so I still have quite a bit of the yarn that I dyed up to make this cardigan, so who knows, I might be able to knit something else to match it. So that is my Sparkle Cardigan by Locatelli. I have cast on something new this week, and I have managed to finish half of it, and it is the cutest little baby sock. So they are knitted so that they're a big long tube, but they are ribbed so that they will grip nicely to the baby's leg, and I can have them folded over if I want them to be. So this is the Perfect Newborn Socks pattern by Tabitha Gandee, who is from the Hey Sister podcast, and I just thought that these were the cutest little things. They are of quite a simple pattern. She does have the instructions to do some little cables along where the 2x2 rib is, but I just thought I'm going to keep it nice and simple because this is really pretty variegated yarn. I didn't want to make it look too much, so I stick with the ribbed pattern, and also cables on a tiny little sock. I don't think so. I did think actually as well, if you're doing cables on a sock like this, it might restrict the stretchiness of it. I think the sock will probably stretch a little bit more as well, so it'll last a little bit longer, but they are so cute. I don't think you can really see the proper size of it because the rib is all sort of scrunched up, because I don't have any baby blockers. I'm going to have to make myself some baby blockers, I think, some cardboard or something, because I don't think I'd bother blocking them all the time. It's just easier to show you. I do have the second one started, but I've literally only done a tiny little bit. But the yarn that I'm using is some gorgeous yarn from Ducky Darlings, and it is left over from a pair of socks that I knitted a couple of weeks ago, and they are the Summer Lace Socks by Tracy, who's Pink Magic Crafts. I'll leave a link to those pattern as well, but I thought matching socks for me and baby. How could I resist? This sock actually, I weighed it and it weighs 6 grams, so I had 18 grams of this yarn left over because I did shorties with a 50-gram sock set. So I've got plenty to get the second sock out of it, and I might have a few grams left over to put into one of my blankets. So next I have my crochet, and now I have spent possibly about 6 or 8 hours on this week, and you can't hardly see any difference, but this is my corner to corner crochet blanket, and I'm following the pattern by Coco. It is rather large, so I'm working on this side. You can see I've sort of turned the corner, this side down here and this side down here, so it is a sort of a rectangle shape. I will show you the other corner. So I've been using all my scraps of yarn up. I've made a magic ball, magic knot ball, and using my little scraps, anything down to as short as sort of this long, it's going in, it's not being wasted. So I'm making a magic knot ball. If you're looking for a tutorial on how to make the magic knot ball, I'll link it in the description bar and up the top here if you want to have a look at my little tutorial that I've done. The tutorial that I used is the Coco one, and I will also leave links to those videos as well. So there's video tutorials on this blanket, which makes it much easier if you're not into reading crochet instructions or charts. You can just follow the video. And I did put a progress keeper where I started, so I've literally, it's taken me about 6 hours to do that much because the rows are quite long, but I'm hoping to get this finished so I can use it as a sort of floor blanket for the baby, because I think there's lots of lovely different colours. There's quite a lot of blue up this end, so I think the magic knot ball I used, oh, there's some green and purple coming up in there, so there will be some more colours. So this is the magic knot ball I've made, and I'm holding it double with some undyed yarn. The undyed yarn just helps to tone all the other colours together. So I've got quite a lot to do. If I put it up against the other end, it might give me an idea of quite how much I have left in crochet on this. So I've roughly folded the other corner over to see how much I've got to sort of do, and there's about that much, which doesn't look too bad, to be honest. You can see how sort of large it is. I can't even hold it up in front of the camera, so we're getting there slowly. The trouble is, because it takes so long to do a row, you can't see that I've done any work on this blanket, but hopefully the rows will get shorter and it'll be finished all of a sudden. I love the texture on this pattern. If I give you a closer look, you can see that there's a sort of waffle texture to the stitches, which I think is really lovely, especially where there's lots of different colours all together. It gives a beautiful texture. So there we go, that's my crochet for this week. I really need to pick up my Battenberg blanket squares as well, because I was making a small baby blanket with those. So I'll see if I can pick that up this week. So the next section is spinning, and I'm just going to give you a quick look at what I've been spinning, because it's basically the same fibre as I showed you a few weeks ago. I just hadn't touched it for a week or so, but I have got back to doing 20 minutes every day, because I want to get that finished, because I have some cross stitch that I want to get started after I finish this spinning. So that's exciting. I'm dying to start it, but I can't. I've got to finish my spinning first, and I want to knit this fibre that I'm spinning into a pair of socks, because it's a merino nylon mix and it's a fleece top from Fondant fibre that's been hand dyed. So I'll give you a quick look of how I've got on with that this week. So here is the first bobbin that I've spun, but I have started a second bobbin here, and you can see that I haven't quite covered the inside of the spool yet. You can see my leader yarn's bright orange, but I'm at least halfway through, which is good. And like I said, this is the Fondant fibre fleece, and it's a merino nylon mix, so ideal for socks. So once I've spun the second spool, I will be just doing a 2-ply yarn, but keeping it quite a tight twist so that it is quite durable. So this is the fleece that I've got left to spin. It looks really pretty. And I've split it into equal pieces so that I can sort of do one of those a day, so that I can sort of see what my progress is like over the time. So now it's the sewing section, and I'd like to ask Barbara to come over to show you the new garment that I've sewn this week. Barbara, would you like to come over? Thank you very much, Barbara. So Barbara is wearing my Blackwood cardigan, and this is a pattern by Helen's Closet. It is made out of some jersey fabric, and this is a sort of Ponte Roma or double knit fabric, which is a cotton base to it. It is a long line cardigan, and it isn't designed to be done up. There is a couple of inches of space in between the two sides, just so that it hangs nicely. I don't tend to do my cardigans up anyway, so that's ideal. The original pattern did have really long sleeves, so long that they're supposed to sort of really be cosy on your hand. It gets on my nerves when I wear really long sleeves, so I do tend to push the sleeves up. So I've just done 3/4 length sleeves instead. I basically looked at the length of the pattern piece and I compared it to my Coco top, which is a pattern by Tilly and the Buttons, where there's a 3/4 length sleeve, and made a sort of mark on the pattern piece and adjusted the pattern piece to do it 3/4 length sleeve. And then I obviously needed to make some modifications onto the cuff so that it would fit higher up my arm, but I basically did it the same depth, but here I've actually folded it up as well just to get it to the perfect length, and I think that's nice and cozy having a folded up cuff on the sleeve. The cardigan is really long. It's designed for somebody who's 5'6", so I immediately took 2 inches off the length of the pattern, which I'm very glad about because it's still really long. This is sort of mid-thigh length down here, and you've got the option of adding some pockets. So I added pockets because love a pocket. It's perfect to put your phone in, which is brilliant. It is a cardigan that you can actually sew on a regular sewing machine completely. You don't necessarily need an overlocker because the fabric doesn't fray, because it's jersey of course, but I do like the finish of an overlocked garment. I did in fact though use my zigzag stitch on the pockets instead of using my cover stitch machine, just because I thought I was a bit concerned about doing the 2 needle stitch on all the way around the pocket. I could have just done the single needle stitch on my cover stitch machine, but I just thought I'm just going to have a go with the zigzag. And then because I'd done that detail on the pocket, I also did the zigzag stitch, top stitch round down the front as well. The pattern didn't actually say, but I've also top stitched the other seam here where there's an extra panel on the bottom, and also around the cuffs as well, just because I thought it just finishes off nicely. It's got a band that goes all the way around the neck, both sides. It is a nice basic cardigan to use, and I think I'm going to take this pattern and adapt it a little bit so that I can make multiples. I have actually cut out a second version of this cardigan without this strip on the bottom, just because I thought actually this length is about perfect, and this is a little bit on the long side for me because I'm quite short anyway. Going to see how that comes out, hopefully get that finished for next week. The reason why I didn't finish it this week is because I wanted to get some thread for my overlocker to match, and it is like a coral pink. I will get Barbara to give you a bit of a twirl, but I will actually give you a better look at this on me, and so you can see where the length is, what it looks like on me. But I really like the fit. It's a relatively sort of slim fitting cardigan around the arms and the body, and I just feel nice in it, so I'm definitely going to make more. So thank you very much, Barbara. Here is a quick look of the inside seams that you can see that I've overlocked. And you can see just on the inside of the pocket, you can see the zigzag stitches where I've attached it as well. But it's all sort of enclosed with the overlocker, which I just really like. It just comes out really neat and professional looking. Well, hopefully anyway. So I'll give you a little clip of me twirling around in the lounge with it on. So here we are, this is the Blackwood cardigan on. And you can see that it doesn't quite meet. And obviously because I'm pregnant, my tummy's sticking out a little bit, but I think that's going to be something that I'll wear a lot. You can see that it's quite long on the leg. I do think that I might prefer this length, so I'm going to make my next version that length and see how that looks. But I do quite like it being long. and it's nice to have a variety of cardigans as well. So I'll give you a twirl. You can see what it looks like. And again, I have shortened the arms and shortened the body by 2 inches as well. So for those of you who are 5'6", it will still be quite long on you. But as I'm about 5'3", 5'4", and I've took 2 inches off the body. So there we go. Very cosy. So because I'd got my grey overlock thread on my overlocker, I thought, right, this is the perfect opportunity to finally make a couple more pairs of leggings that I've done in the past. So this is the Belmont leggings by Cashmerette, and actually there's 2 versions of the pattern. There's a leggings pattern and then there's a yoga pants, and this is the yoga pants because it's got this big strip sort of waistband at the top, and I made a pair of these, and being pregnant I've been wearing them quite a lot, so I've made actually 2 more pairs of these. So there's the first pair and there's the second pair. I won't be parading around the lounge in these so that you can see them properly because they're obviously quite tight and they're just sort of standard leggings. But what I wanted to say about this pattern, I've only ever made this pattern in this very stretchy fabric, which is probably about 60–70% stretch. And the pattern pieces I cut according to the size they suggested in the pattern, and I had to actually take them in quite a lot because they came up quite baggy. I suppose I've picked a fabric that's really quite stretchy, and I like my leggings to be tight, especially around the knees. I think if you look at the design photos, they're quite loose there anyway. So when I made my first pair, I then adjusted them just to be a little bit narrower on the legs, especially the front panel. And because I'm quite short in the body, I took a little bit of length off the front leg as well, because the waistband was coming up really high. But they do come up really comfortable because you've got this jersey waistband. There's no elastic in there and it's just really comfortable. So I thought another couple of pairs of these will be ideal to go underneath my dresses, so that's what I've made. So 2 of those done, ticked off my make 9 list, and actually the Blackwood cardigan was also on my make 9 list as well, so that's another 2 things ticked off. So the fabrics I've used for the Blackwood cardigan was a grey Pontoroma, and I picked that up from Watson and Thornton in Shrewsbury a couple of years ago, and I picked up the fabric for the leggings from Arbon in Shrewsbury as well. So now it's my gadget section next, and I wanted to talk about these circular stitch holders from Clover. So I've got my sleeves from my sparkle cardigan here on one of the circular stitch holders, and this is the smaller size, and I find it quite handy because it's got a metal needle tip on one side and then a bung on the other, so that you can actually thread the needle into the bung and your stitches are secure. And I find with the smaller size that I can easily get my sleeve stitches on there, and I can try it on as well, which is handy. So the small size ones go up to a 16" or 41 centimeters, so that is plenty of room to get your sleeve in there. They do 2 different sizes, so these are the packets that they come in. They do a short size, which is ideal for sleeves, and then you do a longer size as well, which is ideal for the body of a cardigan or a sweater, so that you can hold your stitches without using the needles that you're using actively for the rest of the garment, if that makes sense. So I do find these really handy for garment knitting. I sell these in my shop now because I've picked my favourite gadgets that I like to use. I'll leave a link below to them in the description bar down below. So now onto the Ask Me Anything section, and I have a question from Eleanor from the Ravelry group. If you have a question, either pop over to the Ravelry group and pop your question in there, or you can email me on crafthousemagik@gmail.com, and I'll leave the email address in the description bar down below as well. So Eleanor was asking, do I do a full bust adjustment on jersey tops, because I tend to make quite a lot of these. This is the Frankie T shirt by Tilly and the Buttons, but I have made a modification of this one where I've actually changed the neckline to the same neckline as the Agnes top, which is also a Tilly and the Buttons pattern, to make it a bit lower because the Frankie t-shirt was quite high. So the answer for the Frankie t-shirt is that I didn't for this one. I basically graded out to the size I needed for the bust area just here, and then I kept at that size all the way down. So it's quite a straight t-shirt. It isn't very sort of fitted at the waist. So if you don't want it fitted at the waist and the bottom of the t-shirt isn't straight, you're absolutely fine just grading it out at the seams. However, if you want something to be nice and fitted at the waist as well, I would recommend you either did a full bust adjustment or used a pattern that has a larger bust size on it. So the Cashmere Concord t-shirt, which I've made quite a few of, that you can choose for a larger bust area as well. So I think for that one I picked the G to H style cup. I am normally an E cup in bra sizes, but I did find when I looked at the sizes on the Cashmere patterns that I did have to choose the G to H range of sizes, so they have different size ranges for different cup sizes, if that makes sense. You can pick the one that suits you. I have done some bust adjustments on jersey tops sometimes, but I haven't done one where you're adding a dart at all, because I don't think for a lightweight jersey you don't really want to be adding darts. But what I have done in the past is sort of graded out at the sides and then made sure that the length at the front was lengthened. So I'd find the line where the bust apex meets, cut into the pattern, and then drop that hemline in the middle of the body lower, so that you are accounting for a larger bust area. So rather than doing the standard full bust adjustment, I just sort of lengthen the front and make sure that you've got enough room at the sides. So another way of doing it, I noticed with the Cashmere Concord t-shirt, the pattern piece actually does this. You can adjust the seams to allow for the fuller bust. So I think you can actually play around with the pattern and make some wearable muslins where you are allowing for that little bit of extra room around the bust area just by adding a little curved area. And just remember that you obviously want to have negative ease anyway, because it is a jersey t-shirt. It doesn't want to be too baggy. But then you need to take into account what sort of fabric you're going to be choosing, because some jersey fabrics are less stretchy than others. So I hope that makes sense, Eleanor. So now I'm on to the confessions. I was very naughty. I do have quite a bit of jersey in my stash, but as I'd made 2 pairs of leggings and a cardigan, and I've cut out another cardigan as well, I thought I'll treat myself to a t-shirt's worth of fabric. So I saw this on the Sew Me Sunshine website and I just had to have it. So it is a pink and red stripe. Now I wouldn't ordinarily put pink and red together, but oh, just love this. Really lovely bright colour that I thought would make a really nice cheerful t-shirt. And this is a cotton jersey which has a nice amount of stretch. I'm thinking I'll either make a Frankie or Agnes Tilly in the Buttons t-shirt or the Concord t-shirt from Cashmere, but I just absolutely loved it. I've already washed it so it's slightly crinkly. I haven't pressed it since, but who knows, I might be able to make it up at the weekend. I saw as well that they've got a remnant of a jersey fabric that I thought I could make a garment for the baby. So this is a navy jersey and it's a very soft drapey, and it's actually a viscose with a bit of polyester in it, which I've never used before. And it's got a little bit of a fluffy texture on the outside. I'm not sure whether you can really see it with it being navy. You can probably if I tilt it slightly. So it's super soft. This feels the weight of a sort of double knit to me, but it's got a lot more stretch and give. It's more like a true knitted fabric, if that makes sense. You can see how much stretch is in there, but I thought that that would be really comfortable to make some baby clothes out of, sewn ones. I do have a few patterns that I want to make, so I thought I'd buy that to get me started, but I'm sure I could probably use some of my stash that I've got already. But I had to treat myself because there's been a lot of complaints that there's not been enough confessions. I thought I have to get something to just treat myself. So I'm sure there'll be more to come after I've used up a little bit more jersey stash. So last but not least, I've just got my shop update at the end. So I do have some of their advent calendars, the Starlight Wishes advent calendars and the Starlight Wishes sock set with project bag, and patterns as well go with both of those. All the 24-day advents have sold out, but there are a few 12-day ones. There's one merino, a few stellina and a couple of BFL and merino DK ones. There will be no more advents listed. Quite often in years past I'll dye a couple of extra ones, but I've already dyed them early because I knew I was pregnant, just so that I know that I can manage dyeing all the yarn, because there's a lot of work in dyeing yarn for the advent. So they're all dyed up, ready to go, so there will be no more listed. It's just the ones that are on the website. So some people have been asking me about the blanket pattern that's going to go with the advent. You can use 10 gram or 20 gram minis, so whichever of the advents that you choose are absolutely fine. Obviously it just depends on how big you want your blanket to be in the end. You can add your own stash to there, or like a solid colour to break up the different coloured advent minis. I will show you what the blanket looks like in the coming weeks, but I haven't got the sample knit up properly yet, so I can't show you. But it is a blanket pattern, and it will be suitable for both fingering weight and also the DK weight options, so you're fine choosing whichever base you fancy. So that's the advent, and with the sock set and project bag with the Starlight Wishes theme, there's going to be a sock pattern with that, and again I'm going to show you that closer to the time of the release date, but you will all get a copy of that pattern by email in November. And the project bag that comes with that is completely exclusive to this set. So once those sets have sold out, there will be no more available. That'll be it. And the sock yarn that goes with it, now normally I sell it later on in December on its own, but I'm not going to be doing that this year because I've just got a newborn baby, so I'm not going to have the sock yarn. Won't be available till sort of well into next year. So if you want the sock yarn that's going to be the one that I've knitted up the pattern, then you need to get the kit, if that makes sense. The patterns for the blanket and the sock will actually be available to purchase on their own on the 1st of December, but you will get it earlier if you have it with the one of the kits. And the last thing I wanted to say is that if you didn't want the blanket pattern for your advent, you could have last year's advent pattern, which was the Cupid's Arrow advent wrap. So if you do want last year's blanket pattern, just drop me an email or leave a note with your order. Anyway, I have waffled enough for this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next episode. Bye!